3, 2.
Actually.
How I get here. How did I get here podcast?
How the fuck did I get here? Right?
How did I get here?
How did I get here podcast?
How did I get here? How did I get here podcast?
How did I get here?
How did I get here? How did I get here podcast? Bam.
Welcome back to another episode of the How Did I Get Here podcast, the podcast for positivity, progression, and helping us find our own path. I am sitting here with a good friend of the show, return guest of the show, Cassandra, your favorite social worker, my favorite social worker. How you doing, Cass?
I am doing good. How are you?
Brown, broke, and ugly. Just living a dream, trying to survive during COVID. You know I like to start off every episode with, who are you? I did introduce you, and it's a vague question, but I'm going to ask you that, and then we'll dive into things. So who is Cass?
I would say I am a human, and I bring that up because a lot of people forget that when we're introducing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I am light, I am love, I am a healer, I am a social worker, and a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a girlfriend.
I was gonna say, I was like, wait for that one. I know your boyfriend gonna watch it.
So yeah, I'm a lot of things, but above all, I'm a human.
And I've wanted to snap my fingers while you were saying that, but I'm happy you said human, because today's topic is something that doesn't get enough light shed on it, and it's something that people forget, that they're human and that it's part of everyone's lives. So for you guys that don't know, we're going to dive into talking about seasonal depression today. So I'm going to start off by, what exactly is seasonal depression?
So I want to start off with explaining depression, because that's obviously part of it. Depression is basically having a lot of sadness. I'm going to kind of describe the symptoms and what it would look like. So kind of having low energy, not being able to sleep or sleeping too much, excessive eating or not eating and losing weight. It could be feelings of not having worthlessness. It could come off as irritability for younger folks. It could also be lack of motivation. I mean, it could look in different ways. For men, it's a lot of more anger driven, and for women, we find, at least in my experience, a lot more sadness, emotional crying. But it could also be very numbing. And so when we incorporate the seasonal aspect of it, is the fact that it happens in a certain time of year. So for example, the winter, obviously, everybody's more inside the house. We're not as outside. Well, this depends where you live. If you live in Florida or anywhere warm, it doesn't really affect you as much. Not to say that it doesn't happen, but it's not really prevalent. It's more prevalent in the places where there is winter, because you're pretty much on lockdown. And so with that being said, it just kind of kicks in, and it could go anywhere. If, again, my experience in working with people and myself, I feel like it goes once summer is over, and it probably kind of starts winding down March.
So it does have, for lack of better terms, an expiration date. Seasonal depression, starts and ends.
For those that don't suffer from depression. Yeah, if it's people that it's they thrive off of being in nature and being outside and just enjoying being out and about, absolutely it's gonna affect them.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that with somebody that does suffer from depression, it goes away.
Right.
I think it just comes in waves. I feel like that's the analogy I always use, is it just comes in waves, and sometimes it's stronger than others.
Right.
So
Now you said something that's interesting, like when you were kind of saying the symptoms of like regular depression, like, oh, you might be angry, or you might be sleeping more, or you might be eating more, or so on and so forth. What if, because like I eat a lot and like maybe I don't sleep, those are symptoms of depression, but how do I as a person say, hey, maybe I should get checked for depression or seasonal depression? You know, because I like to think I'm perfectly fine. Not that if you have depression, something's wrong with you, but like, you get what I'm trying to say?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, a lot of people go the route of their PCP, primary care physician, just because they're more comfortable and it's kind of like the typical thing that people have. And it's funny, I actually spoke about this in one of my lives where a lot of people, or practically almost everybody, has a primary care doctor, but nobody has a mental health doctor, right? And the way I see it is, if you have a brain, right? I have a brain, then we need a therapist.
I think so.
And so this is coming from a therapist that has her own therapist, right? And so it's like, that should tell you how prevalent it is. So I would say, you know, people feel comfortable going to their PCP first, go there in that route, and they'll refer you out. Or you can literally Google it and there's this website called Psychology Today, and it's literally like you're shopping for a car, but for a therapist.
Oh, wow.
So like you'll put your insurance, you'll put what you're looking for. You know, a lot of people don't know what they're looking for, so they'll put like insurance and based off of their location.
Right.
And it'll pop up all the ones that accept your insurance and that are in your area. So I would honestly say use the resources there, but the first step would be primary care doctor if that's what you're comfortable with.
And that's where to start, and then go from there.
Yeah.
So what exactly does, I know you kind of hit on the symptoms, but what exactly does seasonal depression look like or feel like for someone going through that?
So I'm gonna speak from my personal experience. And I realized I had seasonal depression this season. Because I thought back to last year during this same time, and I was like, holy shit, I was going through the same thing, and not the same thing, like the same circumstances, but more so I hit kind of what felt like a rock bottom, and then I had to figure out a coping skill, right? And so last year during this time, I would wake up at 5 a.m. to go for a workout. And I would go for the workout, come home, meditate, eat, go to work, see clients back to back all day, giving them therapy, come home and be at home because it's cold as hell. And yeah, you could go out or whatever, but it's not the same, right? And so I come this year and it's like, I go on runs in the morning and it's so
I've been seeing that.
cold.
Good for you. Good for you.
It's so cold. And I realized, why am I doing this? I did this the same thing last year. Now the summer comes around, I'll be honest, I don't know if I can do a workout. Like I'll go for a walk, whatever. And so it's crazy how the season changes, right? And where a workout would be easier in the summer, here I am going outside and it's brick outside.
Right.
But I realized I need to do that for my mental health.
Right.
Because it's just not, like, I'm not going to be able to function. So with that being said, like, I feel like it's realizing once all those things, and now we're talking about COVID. So let's talk about that for those that are, and I'm probably going a little bit off.
No,
topic,
you're leading the conversation.
So,
I like it.
It just goes hand in hand, right? With just seasonal depression. Now the winter's coming, or at least, I mean, we're still in the fall, but it feels like winter.
Yeah.
And we have COVID. So when COVID hit, it was March and it was like the spring. So then, there was some hope because people could go out and walk or whatever. People aren't really that motivated to go walking when it's 30 degrees outside,
right.
So now it's like, it's even worse. Like it's, to be honest, the spike in mental health just is through the roof and people don't talk about it. Overdosing is through the roof and people don't talk about it. Like, I mean, just in general, mental health is becoming a big thing. Yes, because of COVID, but then in addition, we add the seasonal depression, right?
Right.
So for people that already have this and they know, oh, it's this time of year and they're already kind of low-key dreading it, and they don't talk about it because this isn't a topic that's talked about.
Right.
It's even worse because then they're like, crap, at least in the winter, you know, if I would go over a friend's house or whatever, now everything's...
You can't even do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel like with that being said, I mean, it's just, it gets hard.
Yeah.
And the only difference between seasonal depression and depression, I mean, it's the fact that the word seasonal is there.
Right.
And it's from time to time, right? So like, for example, somebody that loses a loved one during the holidays, that's gonna be a time where they're gonna be depressed, you know? Or it could be in the summer.
Right.
So
you really can't get seasonal depression in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I feel like it has happened. It's not like
Right.
it's not. But I feel like it's more common in these areas where like it's really cold, it's cloudy, you don't get...
normalcy is kind of taken away.
Right, and like, honestly, it comes down to sunlight. As like silly as that sounds.
Yeah.
Because through sunlight, you get the vitamin D, right? And the vitamin D, you're going to get that energy that you need and all that.
Right.
So when you're lacking vitamin D and you're not out in the sun, then that's when all the fatigue happens and you just don't have, you know, that energy to do whatever it is that you have to do.
Yeah. So you brought up an interesting point. This is kind of like a two-part question. So you brought up your coping mechanisms, you know, working out, meditation. What are some other coping mechanisms in a normal seasonal depression year and then a COVID seasonal depression year? Because I feel like some might translate and some might not.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question just because with COVID, like one of the things I always tell my clients is what's your support system and making sure they're available, right? It's not saying that all your emotions are dependent on these people, but more so if it is a point where you don't feel 100% yourself, like you could call them and just be like, hey, could we meet up? You know,
Right.
So coping skills for depression, I would say definitely journaling. Sometimes our thoughts are just scrambled, right? And just being able to get it on paper and see it for what it is. I would also say movement, right? Emotions, when we talk about emotions, I'm not even gonna get this right, but emotions have something to do with just being in motion, right? And once you're in motion, you could break out of that emotion. And so that's why I suck it up and go on a run. Because that cold ass air that hits my face is like, you're awake. And now I'm not in that slump of, I don't want to roll out of bed. Like, I mean, there's so many people, forget about like seasonal depression, COVID, that are having such a hard time to even get out of bed. So add seasonal depression to that. It's like, I don't want to, why can I just stay in here?
Yeah.
You know, and you bring your blanket in there and you're cuddled, and it's like, no. So I would definitely say like journaling, moving, music, like,
that's a good
I
one.
feel like even for me, there's been some time where I think I'm so used to like silence because I feel like, I don't know, over time and when you're working with people, you just want silence.
Yeah.
And time for yourself. But I've underestimated recently the power of music, honestly. And it's just, music is art, music is life. It gives, I mean, sometimes you don't even have to say what you feel, you just could play a song.
Right.
Right. So just listening to music, but uplifting music. Because if you listen to the music that is gonna get you depressed, I mean
it's a cycle. Yeah.
Right. So and having the support system around you, going out with friends, hanging out, whatever it is that you need to do, going out to nature, like go on a hike, go to the beach, all those things. COVID, FaceTime.
All the Zoom parties are gonna be a thing. House parties gonna be a thing again.
Zoom happy hours if that's what you enjoy, but also being careful how much you're consuming. Because
That's key.
I mean, addiction is a whole nother topic, but with COVID, it's also gone through the roof.
I'm gonna bar you for that episode
Okay.
too. You just I'll write that one down.
Addictions have also like shot up because of just COVID, and it's like you're finding yourself anxious and all these emotions. So I would obviously say for COVID, social distancing and keeping that in mind, continue to journal and listen to music, and if it works for somebody, meditate, breathing. There's so many apps out there like Headspace or one that I use. I think
What's Headspace?
Headspace is an app about literally like meditations that are like
Oh,
3 minutes, 2 minutes, like whatever, up until however long you need. Like if it's an hour or whatever.
That's dope.
And so they have some free stuff. There's another one that I use. It's called Insight Timer.
Okay.
And that, for the most part, is all free. There is some stuff that you have to subscribe to, but a lot of the stuff that I use is from Insight Timer.
Word.
And their guided meditations, just sometimes relaxing music. So those types of things. So journaling, movement, support system. What else? Music, yep.
FaceTiming
and Zoom. And creating. A lot of people. A lot. And when I mean a lot of people are struggling because they don't even know what they like to do.
I like that a lot.
Some people don't even know themselves.
Right.
Beyond, like, the everyday hassle of life, right? Like, and I think COVID, is the perfect example of taking the time to really look deep into your soul. And the way I tell that to people is like, what did your child part like to do? When you think back to you as a child, what did you like? And if you didn't know, like if you don't know what you liked as a child because you were going through traumas, you were trying to survive, and you needed your basic needs met, like I need to figure out where I'm going to sleep, or I need food, or those things. This is the time to get to know you.
Right.
And what is it that you like? So go to Walmart or go to the dollar store. Actually, they have paint there. They have these little paint boards or whatever, and just sit there and paint whatever it is that you see. Like, just get creative and step into that space.
Right. I really like that last little bit that you said. And you brought something up, like when you were saying, like the Zoom and the FaceTime, but then you said in moderation. And that made me think to like social media, because like I actually recently, one of my friends, she just told me like, hey, I'm getting off all social media, just so you don't think like I'm ignoring you or anything. I was like, you know what? I wish that I could, but between the podcast and coaching and everything I do, I kind of need Instagram to promote, right? How can the overuse of social media or the facade and images people see on social media contribute to like depression or seasonal depression?
That is like one of the top things, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like in this generation, so many people get FOMO, like with being on Instagram and just like wishing like that they were there. And what people need to realize is people have different intentions through social media, right? So what's your intention by being on social media? If your intention is to constantly compare yourself, then you need to do some self-reflection and maybe removing yourself from it. And you won't even realize it until you're probably on it so much. That endless scrolling, that's avoidance full on. Like, I could tell you personally, like, I probably have a million things to do and I'm just there scrolling. And we all do it.
Right.
Because nowadays, everybody has social media. And yeah, people take breaks, but what happens is like, they go back on, right? So comparing yourself and also realizing like those people that live in warm areas, that's gonna make you even more like depressed or have seasonal depression because you're like, crap, I can't do none of that, right? And now you're stuck. And if you live in the Northeast or wherever where it's cold, you know you probably have 2 months of just summer. And the rest is like, bye.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like social media does contribute a lot, not just to seasonal depression, but just depression in general. The constant comparing, just not feeling good enough, and forgetting that people show you the best versions of themselves on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody posts themselves crying. Nobody posts themselves arguing. And even if somebody were to post when they're crying, people are so cruel that they'll say, oh, you're doing too much. Oh,
Right.
you're being extra. Oh, I mean, when you look at even celebrities, granted, that's the price they pay for being rich and famous, right?
Right.
But they're human. And they post one thing, they do one thing, and it's frowned upon, you know?
Right.
And
they're quick to get judged
Yeah.
for being themselves,
Right.
for being human.
right, so
Like
then
you said.
to add it to this, right? Why would someone speak up about having seasonal depression or depression if the way the world is so right now is like any little thing you do, people are ready to just come at you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just a cycle that keeps perpetuating because you're comparing yourself to these people and you're suffering from whatever it is, like, you know, a mental health condition, and you're not talking about it because if you were to talk about it, you're gonna get backlash.
Right. Now, I feel like this is a silly question.
Mm-hmm.
Is depression or seasonal depression, I'm just going to continue to say that for the sake of conversation, is it treatable? Now, obviously, you can go to a therapist and, you know, let it out, but are there other treatments or ways to attack it, I guess I should say?
So actually there was a study, and it's very popular in Seattle, Washington, light therapy, because of the lack of vitamin D, because it's always cloudy over there.
Right.
And really, really like dark and gloomy. And so there are options like that. Obviously, also going to your PCP and checking out to see if your vitamin D is low, because like for me, I suffer from having low
I
vitamin
didn't even
D.
know that. That's interesting.
So that, I mean, when we think about just even mental health, I think what people forget that mental health is just mind, body, soul, right? And so they are all intertwined.
Right.
So you can't just work on the mind without working on the body. And usually what happens with the mind affects the body, right? And vice versa.
Right.
So when you're thinking about the sun is gone, now I have low vitamin D, and then I don't have energy to roll out of bed, and then everything is dark, I just feel sad. I mean, they go hand in hand. Now, if your vitamin D was more up, or
Right.
whatever the situation might be, right, you'll probably have more energy to get out of bed. It doesn't mean that your seasonal depression will go away, right? But at least you're targeting
It's
one
a step
thing.
in the right direction.
Exactly. So, I mean, therapy, look into light therapy, check out what your PCP, and also what you're eating. Like, going back to the seasonal depression, and some of those symptoms is eating more, kind of being, you know, it's easy to just watch Netflix, let me bring my ice cream, let me just eat all this stuff, right?
It's interesting you say that, and I should have wrote it down, but there was this post that I looked at before I got here to sit down with you, and it named like 10 foods that were high in like, I'm gonna mess this up, but it was like the good hormone that like brings positivity into your life, or something like that. And it was like, eat these 10 things. I was like, oh, I wanted to ask her about it, and now I'm bringing it up and I forgot it all, so we'll talk about that later. But,
No, yeah. But it all contributes to it. I mean, you know, when I start having my days where it's like I'm craving sugar or whatever,
Right.
I mean, that slows you down.
right.
I mean, there's so many people that I express this to. I'm a vegan, well, part-time vegan, because then I indulge into pizza. But the people that have stopped eating meat, that are like, challenge yourself to stop, and they will, and then they'll replace it with like veggies and fruits and all
Right.
that stuff. They literally feel lighter. Like, and so when you think about what you're putting into your body and like your functioning and how that affects anything, I mean, there's a reason why like people even fast, because sometimes that's what your body, again, I'm not a doctor in that, but
disclaimer.
Some people fast because some research says that your body could basically heal itself, and so through fasting, they're able to get toxins out or whatever it is that they feel they need, to get out to be able to function. But a lot of foods cause you to have brain fog and just not being able to be productive and not feeling your 100%. And not to mention, I mean, the holidays are coming around. People definitely like to, enjoy the good food, and that's, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's recognizing how it could just all be a domino effect.
Right. I think I got one more question, and this comes from, being someone from the outside looking in. Like, I've had friends and family, deal with depression. And probably 4 years ago, I wouldn't have known half of the things I've known or been comfortable supporting someone. And to me, I'm going to say the first thing that you could do to help from the outside looking in is to understand. But I guess the question is, what can someone who has someone in their life who's suffering from seasonal depression, regular depression, do to help them out?
Honestly, I would just say check up on them. Hey, how are you? I was thinking of you. How's your day going? I think that right there just goes to show you care, and they may push you away, because that's what, part of the depression is also that feeling worthless, feeling so worthless that you just isolate yourself from other people and you're by yourself. So they might push you away, but just showing that support and just literally being there. And I feel like a lot of people sometimes they don't even reach out to their own family because they don't feel that they're there for them. So letting them know, like, listen, I'm here for you. And whatever you need, you could reach out. Also knowing resources like 211, suicide prevention line, obviously 911 if that's, if it gets to that extreme. But there are resources out there, but just letting them know, like educating yourself on how you could help them, like telling them, call 211.
Right.
Like they have so many resources.
For those that don't know, what is 211?
So 211 is basically, think of it as like the middleman to connect you to any resource.
Got you.
So if you're, suicidal, they could evaluate you and they could say, okay, go to the emergency room right now. If you're homeless and you're looking for a shelter, or you're in a domestic violence situation, they could connect you to a shelter where it's specifically for women that are going through domestic violence with their children.
Gotcha.
If you need food, they'll connect you to shelters. It's so many things that 211 does. And even for us providers, like when we want to know if a client needs higher level of care, more intense services than what we're giving them, that's the resources that we do. Even schools use it, so it's very.
Got you. Got you. Is there anything, because I feel like this is such a important topic, is there anything that I'm missing that you want to shed light on before we wrap up?
Honestly, I think you covered it. I would just say for anybody that's going through this, I would definitely say you're not alone. And you should definitely reach out to someone. And I think it starts with this. I appreciate you so much for having this conversation, because it starts with having conversations about it. We can't continue to be a society where the only way we find out about mental health issues is when somebody goes into a school to shoot it.
And it's too late.
Yeah, we can't talk about, when this person went into Walmart and did whatever, or movie theater. We need to think beyond that. If you have a brain, most likely you have mental health issues or concerns, because we all are human, we all have a brain, we all have emotions, and we all have a heart.
Right.
And so at some point, life gets hard and you need support. So it's okay to talk about it and talk to someone else.
Right. Word. So, with all that being said, this is before your dog continues to chew the rest of my shoe. That's why at one point I started to smirk, and I was like, I gotta throw that in there because I didn't think I'm laughing at you, but it's the fact that Kobe is fucking up my shoe.
I try to like ignore it, but we just went from that side
all the way over here with
here.
the shoe.
So.
Neither here nor there. Nike has a 2-year warranty on all their products. I'll get a new pair of shoes. But yeah, this was a great topic, and I feel like going into winter and going into the holidays is just something that I wanted to shed light on. So I'm gonna say my end remarks, and then I'll let you get your 15 seconds of fame, and you can say your end remarks. My end remarks: protect your peace, man. Whether you're a good person, whether you're going through something or not. Your peace is your peace, and you can't let anybody take that from you. You can't let anybody tell you how you feel is right or wrong. So protect your peace, protect your energy, and always remain true to you. That's my advice for this episode. And then I'm going to hand it on to you. You know, you get your 15 seconds of fame. You can talk your shit about whatever you want to talk about. Don't got to be this. And if you don't talk about what I want you to talk about, I'm going to shout you out after anyway, so go ahead.
I would say to anybody watching this, you are worthy, you deserve the world, and you have to believe that you deserve the world. Change starts with you, and whether it's related to this or anything in life, you really have to take the step to be the best version of you.
And check out my girl every Thursday. She goes on Instagram Live, and she drops gems. So if you haven't checked her out yet, check her out. She's like a star 88.
Yes.
All right. That's her Instagram handle. And that's a wrap. All right.
Fuck, you've been recording. Sorry.
No, I'm going to cut all that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to start.
I'm putting that in the video. All right.
Okay.